Hi everyone, welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast for Monday, November 24th. I am Ed, and I am joined by my usual co-host, friend, and bourbon aficionado, Dean Langdon. Dean, how are you doing this week?
Doing well, Ed. Thank you for asking. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody. We hope you can have some good bourbon with your festivities, and it doesn't have to be wild turkey, but it can be, right? So
Often is.
Often is. It just seems fitting. So, what kind of things did you do this week?
Usually I ask you, but
I'm learning. I'm a slow learner, but I am a learner.
Well, just thinking back, since I can never think back all that far, thinking back to yesterday, we went to the Connoisseur Circle happy hour at Heaven Hill Springs Distillery, so at the new place.
Yeah.
So that was actually pretty cool, and we got to drive there, which nobody gets to do because if you take the actual tour, you have to take the shuttle there.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
And I don't know have you been there?
I have not. No, I was talking to Karen a little bit before this, and it sounds like I know it's not just by invitation you can take the tour, but that's really the way you see it, right? It's either in the Connoisseur Club or
the only way to see it. So, yeah. I mean, at some point, but before we get onto that, just to tell people what it's like. So it's huge, and it's Heaven Hill's new distillery that they built here in Bardstown. Just to review, their distilling had entirely taken place at the Bernheim Distillery, which is in Louisville, not in Bardstown. Bardstown is where the Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience and the bottling facility are. So this distillery was when did it open? Around the Bourbon Festival, I think, is when it
was September, October of
when
this
it
year.
First opened to visitors. I think they had started distilling a little before. Well, quite a bit earlier in the year.
It was, but I still think it was in the second half of the year. I could be mistaken, but it's brand new.
Yeah,
right? They've been building it for a while, and they've just started production there. So,
but the visitor part of it is just beautiful. It's actually. It'll be gone. It's in my stories on Instagram today, but today is Saturday when we are recording this, so that will be
gone by the time you see this.
Distant memory, but it's beautiful inside. The bar area is just it's a gigantic, beautiful room, and then it's got a big staircase which goes up to a second level that sort of overlooks it. And so it's a beautiful big space, and they had food for us and drinks, of course. But they did one thing that was very cool. They had a blind tasting where you went throughout the distillery. They had separate stations set up. And they had, I think it was 8 of their whiskeys to choose from on the list. And each one of the stations, but there were only 5 stations, so you didn't use them all up. So that made it a little more challenging. And each station had a different whiskey for you to taste. And then you had to fill out your card
what you thought
and guess which of those 8 it was.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was, sort of set up so that you walk yourself through the distillery taking a tour as well.
So the visitor space is actually in the distillery. You see the still and so forth when you're in that space?
No.
Okay.
So that's sort of off to the side. So there's a bar and then the gigantic sort of entertaining type area there.
Okay.
But then through doors you go to the distillery.
I figured they would make that separate.
Yeah, so you can't see in.
Yeah,
but this was set up very cool to get people sort of acquainted with the distillery and do the blind tasting during that. So,
we have to know how you did on the blind tasting.
I prefer not to mention. I take the 5th.
Okay.
As we know,
it does get harder on that 5th blind tasting. I've noticed that my palate is a little bit worn out by the time I get to the 5th.
Well, I mean, we know how difficult they are even in the first place. Since we're in a group that does blind tastings regularly.
That's the reason you do blind, is because the one you pick as your favorite is usually not the oldest, most expensive. Whatever you would think would be your favorite, it never is.
Well, there was a gimme in this because it's the mellow corn, and all you had to do was see it. But what made it a little harder than like when we do the blinds, because if I had them in a flight, I think it would have been a little easier. But you have one, you make your guess there, then you go wander off to another part of the distillery.
I would have probably guessed
it's not side by
2
side.
of them being the same thing would be my luck. And that
they weren't. I mean, they didn't actually tell us that wasn't going to be the case. If I was setting it up, that would have definitely been the case. But no,
it's dangerous blind tasting with Ed, folks.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we had told everybody, but the last blind tasting I did was actually, I expected people to throw things at me at the end because I did two different whiskeys. We actually did Wild Turkey 101 and regular Buffalo Trace, but the point wasn't to identify those. I had one bottle of each that was freshly opened and one bottle of each that had been open for a year or more. And nobody knew they were drinking the same thing. And the only clue I gave was what is old is new again. So nobody guessed that they were drinking pairs of the same thing. And there were striking differences really between them. It was very interesting.
There was. I mean, one of those was Buffalo Trace, and I was just astounded at the taste difference between the fresh crack and the older one. So,
yeah, I mean, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that for a long time. Yeah.
I got to do a blind tasting with some friends this week and some Lexington Bourbon Society friends. And, the way we did it is we revealed it after we tasted it. We always guess at like proof and, what it is, or even the distillery. And we didn't do very well. We never do. But we'd sampled like Wild Turkey Revival and Decades. There was a Russell's Reserve that was distilled in 2002 and bottled in 2018. A Four Roses 2011 limited edition, which was a single barrel back that far, which is really unique. And then there was a Willet bourbon that won the day out of all of them, not surprisingly, because it just had the depth and the character that the others just didn't
They stand out.
So
Did people guess Willet?
one of us did, yeah, not me, unfortunately. one of us did guess Willet, and
Because that distillery has a definitely distinctive character.
It really does.
And I'm usually, I mean, just in general, I mean, if I could guess a distillery, I'm happy to try to guess any more. Well, we don't know that. I mean, I would have to try it, but I would think I could pick it out, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I usually think I'm pretty good at picking out Wild Turkey products, but not on this one. And part of it is I don't get a chance to sample the things like Decades and Revival very often, right? And they're not always the traditional Wild Turkey.
I thought you had those with your morning coffee.
That's why I can't pick them out blind. It's the coffee. Yeah. So anyway, it was fun. It was a learning experience and wonderful to drink good bourbons like that with friends. That's what it's about.
Yeah, well, that's a nice one. All right, ready to dive in?
We should tell people what's going on this week.
Quite a bit of news. We keep saying that things are going to quiet down, and things just don't. So I'm not even going to say it. All right, so this one, we're going to start off about talking about some of the San Francisco World Spirits Competition winners. And the way they do it is weird. We've talked about some of their other winners from, because it's the Tasting Alliance that puts that on, and they put on the New York one. And we had the same issue with that. They publish like the original winners earlier in the year, but then throughout the year, they do their best in class, their platinums, their all of the top winning things, and they spread them out throughout the year. So they just recently had their gala in earlier this month, where they gave out those final awards. So now we have the best in class, but then what they do is they don't put it on their own website. I'm sure there's money involved. They wind up giving it to either Forbes. These are in the Whiskey Wash.
Right.
So, you have to go to these other sites. And me as like a sort of a fairly strict science-based person, I like to get all the information from the source, but you can't do that with these. So, so there's my disclaimer, but presumably all this is accurate. And for the first winner, it actually came from their own Facebook page, so I'm assuming that
I think that's
we can believe that.
We all know it could be faked, but it probably wasn't.
No, because that would not look good.
Bad luck.
Hard to get away with that one.
Yes, it is.
But so anyway, according to Starlight Distillery's Facebook page, their Mizunara Reserve took home Best Overall Bourbon and Best Special Barrel Finished Bourbon at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Their single barrel bourbon earned Best of Class Craft Distiller Whiskey. Winners for these categories were selected, as we said, from whiskeys that had already won double gold medals earlier in the year.
And I'm not sure you mentioned the distillery there, but that was a Starlight Distillery product,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
no, I said it.
I may have missed it, so but we want to give props to Starlight because
I know you don't really listen to me.
Just like any duo, right? I mean, come on. But yeah, so anyway, good for Starlight. Excellent recognition for them. They've been doing this for a while, so.
Yeah, no, they definitely been doing. Have you tried them as an reserve?
No, I have not, and now obviously I'm sore tempted to try and find it and try it. They're usually pretty good about quantities, so we hope. But it's like anything else, right? When a bourbon wins an award like this, it disappears off the shelves, and I don't know if
this
there's
was on the shelves. Frankly, I remember. Karen's out there and probably remembers it. Yeah, I mean, it was released at like a fall and autumn party because I think our friends Craig and Cynthia were at it, and I think they bought it. So
that would make sense, right? It's one of those special releases. And
so, Craig and Cynthia, I'm going to be hitting you up for a taste of it.
Craig and Cynthia, I can't wait to meet you. So.
But yeah, so I don't know how if it all sold out then, or how long it lasted, or if any made it into distribution. But yeah, I mean, it's always good for them, but then it's always unfortunate when these ones that are limited win, and then you have a slim chance of ever knowing what they taste like. Right. But anyway, that's great. Best bourbon overall. I mean, that's an
awesome
pretty
award,
big
awesome recognition, and that's going to just boost Starlight name. I'm not sure. Do you know, does Starlight have national distribution? I assume they do, but I don't know that.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are close by, so I take it for granted that they're fairly well known because they have been around for a while.
Right. I mean,
as well.
we get
but maybe they're not
barrels all the time. I mean, I got a Starlight single barrel from Kroger, right? I mean, so they're not hard to come by around here.
So, and then some of the other winners in the best of class for the different bourbon classes, and there's a little to talk about in here. So the best straight bourbon was the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C924, which is actually a really good batch. That was the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof they were pouring last night at Heaven Hill, so I had some of that. It's really good.
That's awesome.
So the best small batch bourbon up to 5 years was 1792 small batch, and we'll have something to discuss about that, I think. The best small batch bourbon 6 to 10 years was ASW Distillery's Fiddler Encore Bourbon. That's Georgia Oak. So they have those ones that are aged in, I don't know if they're full outright aged or finished in Georgia Oak, but the Georgia Oak is involved.
Right.
And then there's the best overall small batch bourbon and best small batch bourbon 11 years and older, which went to the new OKI for their 15-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon. So an interesting collection there. So what do you think of the best small batch bourbon up to 5 years, 1792 small batch? Not whether it's a decent bourbon or not, but its category.
Yeah, that's tough to fit that into a small batch because how many hundreds of barrels are they?
Well,
are they blending to put that out to get their standards taste profile, right?
Well, that is a good point, but that's not the point I was going for with it. It's generally assumed to be 6 to 8 years old. So there's there's something.
How is it into the under 5 batch?
There's something odd there about that one.
Yeah.
So
right.
Try to get some clarification from the brand about that, but I don't know. I mean, it's generally assumed it's 6 to 8. It could have some younger barrels in it, but
I guess it could. I mean,
I think it is just generally not assumed to be with nothing in it under 5. So I think that's a little
really interesting.
Unusual.
I wonder if they created a batch from under 5-year-old barrels. I can't imagine they would do that just for a competition.
No, I think. But I don't know. I would like to know exactly.
Wheels turn in mysterious ways sometimes.
Because when I read that, that's what caught me. It's like under 5, up to 5 years. Right.
Yeah. So I didn't even catch that. It's like, well, I never would have thought of that. So I was impressed that ASW came in there. I think they make
very good whiskey.
Reputation. Yeah. I like their products too.
Next time we drive through Atlanta, maybe we can stop there.
Stop and get a barrel.
Yes. Whole barrel. I'm sure Karen won't mind me throwing that in the back of the car.
Yeah. It doesn't affect the gas mileage that much. It's fine. So.
All right, so moving on. So other winners, so now we'll move to rye. So Wenzel Distillery has announced that its Rectifier's Rye Batch 3 was named the best American rye whiskey at the 2025 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. The 9-year-old rye whiskey bottled at 121.6 proof, earned a double gold medal earlier this year before being selected as the top American rye at the gala that we just talked about in San Francisco. The competition was founded by the Tasting Alliance in 2000. It received nearly 5,500 entries across all categories.
Wow.
That's like huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think their entry fee is cheap.
Right.
So,
well, and I'm glad we finally got a Kentucky product as, a best overall, right? Because we had Indiana and Georgia down there. And I know some of the other ones were Kentucky products, but...
Well, I think 1792.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's really an accomplishment for Wenzel, though. I don't think they're that well known.
Oh, no. I mean, we've talked about them on the show. So they're up in Covington. They had recently become part of the Bourbon Trail, I believe. And then... I do not remember the exact distillery, but I think they had bought like all the distillery equipment as well as I think the existing stocks from. I think it was a Georgia distillery, and I do not remember exactly who.
Yeah,
but
renovated an older building in Covington and restored it and operating out of there.
But they've been winning awards right and left. Frankly, I mean, they won another best of. I think we had talked of. It's either this year or. We may not have talked about it, but or last year, but they've won. They've been winning awards. This is obviously a very big award to win. So whatever they're doing it right.
It's working, right? Exactly. Yeah. Congrats to them. So I need to get up there. I have not visited there.
No. Well, we should go together. Maybe when we get our remote podcast set up at some point.
There you go.
Someone was working on that. I
don't know
who that was.
Probably me dropping that ball. But anyway.
And then just on a related note, there were many fewer best ofs class in the rye category. Mm-hmm. So the only other one was, and this was from the Whiskey Washes list, was that Never Say Die Rye won the best new rye of 2025. And I don't have a problem with that. I've had the rye. It's very good. But the part that confused the head scratcher of this was I reviewed it in May 2024.
So it's an old new. And so
what's old is new again.
That's right. Yeah, here we go. So
I don't know.
That was interesting. But I mean, maybe it's the first time they entered it into the competition. Maybe that's what makes it new to them. Who knows? Right?
No, apparently it won a double gold the year before. So I don't know.
Yeah. We don't understand the Tasting Alliance's categories, folks.
Well, I suspect some of this has to do when you enter, because those initial awards are given much earlier in the year. So they could very well be submitted in the prior year, which would then put you a year behind.
Can you even be considered for best in class unless you were already double gold the year before?
Well, this year you'd have to win. Yeah, this is all confusing.
Yeah, I sort of thought that
it has to be the current
before you could be.
No, you do, but it's that year. In February, whenever those awards came out, if you won a double gold, then you move on to the next best of class competitions, which then don't get announced until November. So they definitely won this year, but I think they won the prior year too as a double gold. So regardless, I mean, good for them.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, good for them.
But again, it's the head scratcher about the categories that awards are being given in. Oh, and just the one thing, if anybody's looking for this rectifier rye, and I was looking for it, and it's of course sold out, but
of course, yes,
it's no longer called rectifier rye. I got clarification of this because on their website they list a barrel proof rye batch 3, which is what this is. So the first 2 batches were called rectifier rye, and at the time they entered, that's the name they were using, but now they call it barrel proof, just barrel proof rye. So when the next one of these comes out, if you're looking for something that's the same brand, it's going to be the Wenzel barrel proof rye batch. I'm assuming they're going to make a 4. Not going to stop when you just won.
One hopes not. And that's a nice heady proof, right? 121, 106. So
we need to. Did you? I mean, they've been at the KBF. Did you? I tasted them 2 years ago because I hadn't heard of them.
I did too, but I if they were there this year, I totally missed them, which isn't unusual because there's so many, but I don't remember what they had this year. I do remember tasting them 2 years ago.
All right, moving on. So now we get into just very brief finance. There's not much of it in today's, other than bankruptcy.
There's positive finance and negative finance.
But not just all the raw.
Start with the positive finance.
But it's not just the numbers for the show that you were conveniently on assignment for.
Right.
So, Brown-Forman Corporation has approved a 2% increase to its regular quarterly cash dividend, raising it to 23.1 cents per share on Class A and B common stock. The dividend is payable on January 2nd, 2026 to shareholders of record on December 5, 2025. According to the company, this marks Brown-Forman's 42nd consecutive year of dividend increases and its 80th year of paying regularly quarterly dividends. And obviously, I put this in here because all we talk about is how companies are not doing as well, including Brown-Forman closing cooperages and
exactly
this, that, the other thing.
Off.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
so then I think this was surprising.
it is a little bit. I mean, I would expect them to maintain their dividend. I think they are on a list of what is known as the dividend aristocrats, which are companies that have been paying for, I want to say you've got to pay it for like 25 years, maybe it's 40 years of a consistent dividend. But it's different to keep paying it versus raising it. Mm-hmm. And, it's sort of like, well, we fired a bunch of employees so we can raise your dividend a little bit. I hope that's not what's going on. I think Brown-Forman is kinder than that. But, it is. It's a positive sign. They're perhaps not making as much profit, but they're making enough so they can tweak their dividend a little bit. 2% is not a big raise, but beats the alternative.
But I mean, given all the other news we hear, any raise seems high and not cutting. I think it's good to give back to the shareholders, but it's just it's interesting.
Brown-Forman is such a really a multinational company with how they distribute and all that. They may not own foreign brands, but they're well suited to weather the storm.
They have Scotch and
they do. They've got the market. They've got a broad swath of the market, right? Mm-hmm. So, although most of the market is doing this, so you got to wonder. But I think Brown-Forman will be fine. So
yeah, well, it's really interesting actually because I thought the tariffs really hurt them because it hurt their Jack Daniel's sales, which Jack Daniel's is huge. Yes. You can't, even a percent of Jack Daniel's is more than you and I earned together.
Yes, without a doubt, a 0.1% probably.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens. Moving on to our next story, the Lexington Herald Leader has reported that VisitLEX has launched a new Bourbonland tasting pass, allowing visitors and locals to sample tasting flights at 6 Lexington area distilleries: Barrel House Distilling, Bespoken Spirits, Bluegrass Distillers, Dark Arts Whiskey House and Alchemy Lab, Fresh Bourbon Distillery, and James E. Pepper Distillery. The one-day tasting pass costs $45 and includes flights at up to 3 distilleries, while the 3-day ultimate tasting pass costs $75 and includes flights at all 6 distilleries with a maximum of 3 per day. And you have to use them in that 3-day period.
Sure.
Passes must be used within 60 days of purchase and are delivered by text and email. Each purchase includes a free Bourbonland shot glass available for pickup at the Lexington Visitors Center. Get your passes at visitlex.com/things to do, with hyphens between them, /bourbon.
I think this is,
and it's not a commercial. We receive nothing for this.
That's right. No, but I think
I thought it was interesting.
I'm sort of surprised VisitLEX hasn't done something like this sooner. I mean, I see what Covington has done with Beeline, and we need to capitalize on this when people are here in Lexington. I mean, I think sometimes people come to Lexington and just go off to Frankfort and Bardstown and don't give due credit to what's here in town. So I think this is a great way to do it. I would say that notable by their absence are Town Branch and RD1. I was sort of surprised that they weren't a part of this. So hopefully either this will expand, or it could be they're trying to not encourage people to go to 4 distilleries in a day and limit it to 3.
I wonder why that is, actually. I mean, that's interesting. Well, first of all, I didn't think Bluegrass really has a presence in
They don't. They're in Midway now. They're, and the article I saw noted that, but it's like, well, they're close enough,
Yeah. But interesting. I wonder why RD1 and...
Yeah, me too. And I could see making this regional. I mean, the Beeline is truly regional. It's not just Covington and Newport. You could add Hartsfield. You could add Wilderness Trail, right? I mean, you could easily expand this and We should start a shuttle service, Ed. We need a
Well, yeah, no spare time.
right.
Yeah, I wonder why RD1 and Town Branch aren't involved.
We'll ask our friend Barry if he was approached and share that with our listeners.
Well,
A
I know
future
there
episode.
have been groups that were trying to, because Lexington is now considered one of those gateway cities, I think, to the Bourbon
To the
Trail.
trail, sure.
And there, I thought RD1 was involved in those discussions. I would have thought all the distilleries would have been,
I would think
frankly.
so too. Right.
I don't know what the advantage, and well, I guess we don't know how this is set up, but yeah, I mean, to me, it always seems like Lexington is not. People don't really include it on
They don't.
their
Yeah.
bourbon tour. But the flip side is, I also find that the Lexington distilleries, for the most part, don't do too much for their backyard. Like, I mean, we lived there, well, both two places, but I lived in Lexington for 15 years, and they don't do a lot of things to
I agree.
draw people
Right,
in.
right.
So
And I wonder about the price
Locals.
point. I mean, I'm wondering about the price point here. I mean, even if the distillery's got all of this money, that's $15 a flight. Less than that on the 2-day pass. That's not a lot of money. It may be that people like RD1 and Town Branch looked at it and said, we don't want to do that. We can't. That's below cost, perhaps, right? And we've got enough visitors the way it is. Who knows? We're speculating, but
yeah, totally speculating. I mean, I just can't imagine anybody not wanting people that are visiting that, because this you're going to assume is going to be, well, I assume it's mostly out of towners, but I suppose people that live there that haven't been to the distilleries. Not that they're really publicizing this very much. I mean,
yeah.
that's I've found the way Lexington handles the distilleries just a little unusual. It's very different than like here in Bardstown where we are now, where I mean everything's just distillery bourbon centric.
Yeah, everything, right.
I mean in Lexington, while they're there,
It really isn't a big focus of the tourism industry.
No.
Right? And so I maybe this is the first step to improving on that, because we think it could improve, and this is one way to do it. So
yeah, well, and to do just way more to attract locals to go to everything. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't really happen. It's very unusual. I mean, like completely different to how like Louisville's distilleries handle people that live in Louisville. I mean, there's
Right.
events all the time.
yeah.
So, all right, well, we'll see what happens, but it's definitely a good start. All right, so now on to the less good financial news, and this one's a big surprise, and Dean will enlighten us about this hopefully. So in Rochester, New York, Black Button Distilling's new owner, Black Star, which we had just talked about like a month ago,
Right.
a firm led by former Buffalo Trace executive Chris Comstock, has eliminated all the staff, including the founder Jason Barrett, and is liquidating this distillery's inventory. The news station up there, WXXI News, reports that Barrett and his team were let go in mid-October, and he has been hired back as a contractor to assist in selling barrels and bottles. And then, as we said, we did report this in my September 26th newsletter, so it would have been our September 29th
Right.
podcast and YouTube. And at that point, it was actually cheery news. It was Black Star had acquired Black Button, and they said they would quote, continue distilling, bottling, and selling its award-winning lineup while maintaining its current team and day-to-day operations under founder Jason Barrett, close quote. So that sounded like great news, but apparently that wasn't the plan, because this happened awfully quickly.
I was going to say, I mean, 2 weeks is a really short period
Yeah.
for that to happen, right? I mean, even if it's a month, before you get into a deal like this, you do what we call as due diligence. And so they should have gotten financials for the company and gotten some idea of, certainly they had some idea of what the market is, right? And maybe they didn't do enough local market studies or whatever, but I can't imagine they went into this and in 2 weeks or 3 weeks discovered something that made them do a 180 and change their mind about continuing to operate. So it's a little disturbing. It's always bad when you lay people off at this time of year, and I wonder, they've hired the founder back to help liquidate the bottles and the barrels. I didn't see anything about what they're going to do with the facility and the actual distilling equipment. that's probably a harder sell. Curious as to whether they're going to try and restart under a different brand or what they're going to do. But, time will tell on those issues.
Yeah, it does say just inventory. That's interesting. I don't know.
God forbid.
There's a fair amount of distilling material.
I mean, God forbid they start distilling gin, right? I mean,
well, did they distill gin?
I think they did distill gin at some point.
Yeah.
That's how they all start, isn't it?
Yeah, but they had closed that tasting room. I think we reported on that back in July, and that did not reopen with this purchase. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to assume malintentions by people, but
no,
it's just very weird that it was.
And you don't know. I don't know. We don't know the terms of that initial deal, right? And so, from Mr. Barrett's perspective as the owner, I don't know. Did he keep some equity in the company? Did he? Was it just an asset sale where, the old company, the equity became worthless? There's all sorts of ways you can do this, and he must apparently not feel too, forbidden is the wrong word, but he's coming back to work as a consultant. So he must not feel too betrayed, or he wouldn't be doing that.
Well,
he's also out of a job, so.
Yeah, I mean, that part caught my eye too. It's very weird to, whatever. I mean, we don't want to make assumptions, but looking from the outside and seeing that a company was purchased with a public statement made that everything would run as usual. A couple weeks later, all the employees are gone and it's closed down, and then the owner is now working with the people that purchased it. I mean, it doesn't look good looking from the outside.
Who was in the loop and who wasn't? And I did see in the news story, the positive of this is I think most, if not all, the employees were able to go to work for a milk processing plant nearby.
Yeah.
So that's not great, but at least they're not unemployed. They found other jobs.
Yeah.
So it was good to see that in that news story.
So, yeah. So very interesting story. And it's all private, right? So we're never going to know.
We'll never know. That's right. Yeah. Unless there tends to be a lawsuit later on if somebody was disgruntled enough to do that. But
yeah, true. Okay. Well, keep your eyes peeled.
There you go. Yeah. I'll watch that court docket.
All right. And our next story is unfortunately sort of similar. So Oregon's pioneering Rogue Ale and Spirits, known for Dead Guy Ale and Dead Guy Whiskey, abruptly closed on November 15th. Whiskey Advocate recounts that the 37-year-old brewery distillery, it's amazing it's been that long,
I know, right?
Announced to its landlord that it would cease operations and shut down all breweries, distilleries, and pubs, laying off nearly all employees. Rogue was founded in 1988 and began making spirits in 2003. They became famous for single malt Dead Guy whiskey, which debuted in 2006, and for housing their own cooperage. The closure follows years of declining sales and heavy debt. The company owed the Port of Newport over $545,000 in unpaid rent and another $30,000 in back taxes. Attempts to focus on beer and sublet its distillery space were not enough to stave off the shutdown. According to local network affiliate Fox 12 Oregon, the employees were not given advance notice of the closures and are scrambling to find jobs before the holidays. So this is big. I was a huge Rogue fan. I mean, that's a big OG brewery.
Yes, exactly. I remember I did craft brewing with some friends back in the 90s, and they were huge, right? It's like, Dead Guy Ale. Yeah. It's good stuff. So
I think we went there, Karen and I, in Portland.
Uh-huh. So that's sort of shocking when it just happens out of the blue. Now it does sound like they had been struggling, and the people knew that they were trying to sublease, and the landlord obviously worked with them. How exactly do you evict a brewery? that can't be easy, right? You sort of let them. You want to let them go on as well as they can. But
plus, they had all those years behind them. I think you figure something good might come of it, or they make it work.
You have to wonder if I don't know if they marketed the business and the brand. You would think somebody would be willing to come in and pick that operation up just because of the value of the brand, right? But
it's such a crazy market nowadays. I mean, you know, beer is not doing great.
No, I mean, craft breweries, you know, started failing before craft distilleries, and now they're both.
Well, and the wineries aren't doing so great either.
No, that's right.
So I think the days of people swooping in and grabbing things up, and I don't know enough about Rogue's history. I mean, do they have any outside investors, or are they all themselves?
Yeah, I have no idea. About that. I did think it was cool. Their internal cooperage was called Rolling Thunder Barrel Works, which is a great name. So, but that's unique too, right? I mean, there aren't that many places that have an internal cooperage, or had in this case. But that's a nice twist. And you know, what's not in the story is a bankruptcy filing. And, you know, just because you go out of business, you don't have to file bankruptcy. Usually you file bankruptcy to try and stay in business. I mean, that's what we see some of these others doing. You know, the owners apparently got to the end of the financial rope and said, we're tired of beating our heads against the wall. I find in businesses like this, the owners have usually injected a bunch of money and they can't borrow anymore. They've run out of money to inject, and, you know, you eventually close the doors, and usually you can see it coming and you don't just do it unannounced. But everybody's different when they're running businesses.
Yes, but their people they owe money to can still go after them, right?
I mean, one hopes that they, you know, I deal with businesses that are shutting down as part of my job. It's like, look, pay the final wages, pay the payroll taxes. If you pay nothing else, pay those. Because that inflicts the most harm, and you're right, that's where they have some potential personal exposure. So a lot of times these folks have exposure on leases, on the landlord, on the lenders, all that stuff.
Right. I mean, you assume there's other material bills that are not paid.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Right.
Yeah.
So by not declaring bankruptcy, you're just like completely responsible for it.
No, actually, you're not. I mean, you know, the owners aren't. You know, the whole concept of a company is it's like a different person, and the owners of the company are automatically responsible. If you've guaranteed it, if you've guaranteed a lease or a loan, that doesn't usually happen with your ordinary everyday vendors and things like that. So
you just shut down and it's gone and that's it?
It's gone. That's it. Yeah.
Nobody can be held responsible?
The company can, but the company, I mean, so, you know, I mean, you can sue this company. You can get a judgment that the company owes you XT dollars. But, you know, you have judgments out there for XT times $100, and the company has $100. And so usually nobody gets paid.
Interesting.
Yeah. And scary at the same time.
Yeah. So, all right. So not really good news for anybody.
Yeah.
All right. So then just a couple other closings. So this next one's not bad. This is more of an internal thing.
There you go.
So the Watershed Kitchen Plus Bar in Columbus, Ohio, a restaurant and cocktail bar inside Watershed Distillery, closed permanently on November 8th. The restaurant closed because of economic challenges and the need to focus on core distilling business. Watershed's distillery and bottle shop remain open, so it's not changing their core business. And the company plans to reimagine the space for educational and entertainment events. So they're really just getting out of the restaurant business.
Yeah. This presents an interesting take on, you know, will tourism and the restaurants and the tasting.
I'm going to drink a lot more of your whiskey.
Please do. Yeah. What's gonna keep the smaller ones alive during the downturn? Is it going to be production? Is it going to be producing for others, or is it going to be feeding people and selling them your drinks, you know, internally? And this would tell us that it's continuing production, right? Because they're shutting down the restaurant side. We know restaurants are tough too. Food prices are up, labor costs are up, all that stuff. And so, again, every market's different, every business is different, right? So I don't know. I mean, I hope this helps them, continue and grow in the future, grow their production side as opposed to the tasting and food side.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like this restaurant had been around for a while.
It sounded like it was pretty.
Yeah.
Bougie is not the word I'm looking for, but a well-respected restaurant, right? Not just public.
So I find that, this could be the topic of a whole other show, and we could have people on that actually are involved in all of this. Yeah. But, all we hear is that, and we hear from a lot of our own friends who've been enthusiasts for a long time. People are more interested in the experiential side. And then you look at, what's happened with many distilleries, they're trying to do that napification of everything. So
Right.
people want multiple different experiences that their guests can do. They all want craft cocktail bars, and a lot of them are open, and a lot of them are opening restaurants. So this is sort of like the opposite of what we're seeing many of the larger distilleries do. And I mean, presumably that's being profitable to the other ones to bring in all this outside income. But yes, operating a business, a restaurant is a completely different thing than operating a distillery.
Right.
So there's always going to be a catch-22. But I guess, yeah, I mean,
There's gonna
focusing
be
whatever their core is
there's
the
gonna
thing
be
to do.
There's going to be a scale issue too, right? I mean, depending on is if your restaurant is just open for breakfast at a distillery, that's probably a failed concept. So you got to figure in all that stuff.
Although
there are some diehard folks who.
Well, there's the night shift. I mean, plenty of people's breakfast is their night.
I don't know how many, but so I was just thinking. We talked about Texification last week, Napification. We're going to have Kentuckification. What that's going to be, folks, is the distilleries are going to actually let you work the bottling line or work in the distillery. You have to sign a waiver, but they're going to cut costs, and you're going to have an experience also. We got to sell that to somebody, Ed. We can make a bunch of money at that.
Well, our friends at Pursuit, don't they do that on the bottling line?
There you go. Yeah.
And there's other distilleries that have used that model.
Yeah.
I mean, I think doesn't Sagamore? I don't know if they still do.
Sag does not. Yeah.
They certainly did it. They did at the beginning. They had people come and help with bottling. I believe Iron Root has people come and help with bottling. Garrison Brothers has for years had people come and help with bottling. I don't know if that still goes, but I know at least there have been plenty of distilleries that have had that model in the past. But they don't make you pay to do it.
No, I know, but they need to.
And you usually get food and whiskey and stuff, so it's and it's fun. I mean,
it is right. Yeah.
But it is an experience. I mean, who doesn't get to do that? If they offered you right
cool,
now,
right? Yeah,
do you want to go bottle? Sure. Yeah.
Now, if it came to making barrels, I might think differently about that.
Well, so would they, because they don't want all their whiskey leaking out.
Not all, just a little bit more than usual.
Unless you're a skilled cooper, buying a barrel from you would not be a very wise investment.
Yeah.
All right, but we digress.
We did.
So moving on. So
more closures.
Yeah, this one's not super happy though either. So Louisville's The Silver Dollar closed after one final service on Saturday, November 15th. The bar, which was named one of GQ magazine's top whiskey bars in 2013, and I mean it's been considered one of the big whiskey bars in the country.
Yeah.
Well, since then, first opened in 2011, and it went up for sale in 2023, and then reopened in 2024 under new owner Brian Downing. But despite the refresh, the business is closing amid a wave of neighborhood restaurant closures. So I don't know where this falls into the overall picture.
It was longer than 2 weeks with Black Button, right? So there's that. But it's a landmark. It was a landmark.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've only been to Silver Dollar once, but I was so amazed and impressed by their operation. And so, if you have a favorite drinking establishment, folks, you need to start visiting them or keep visiting them. If you want to keep them around. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Drink responsibly. We're not saying anything else, but don't just drink at home. Go out and keep these places alive.
Good advice for a number of reasons, but I mean, we haven't talked about much in the way of what bourbon bars have been doing, and quite honestly, I do not think but they don't make the headlines at least for closing. Like all restaurants and bars, things COVID took a hit on everybody, and it's been difficult for many to recover. We do not know the Silver Dollar's specific situation, but we do know that it, was up for sale in 2023. So, hopefully this isn't something that we see continue. But yes, that was a longstanding, sort of icon of the area.
It really was.
It's a little sad to hear that. All right. So moving on to another story that we're revisiting here. So we had reported a couple times now about Luca Mariano. So in our November 7th newsletter, which would have been our November 10th podcast, that Luca Mariano Distillery had planned to seek bankruptcy protection, and court records now confirm the company's Chapter 11 filing, according to bankruptcyobserver.com. The voluntary petition filed in U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Eastern District of Michigan on November 12th lists assets and liabilities both between $10 and $50 million and notes 50 to 99 creditors. So I'm assuming these are just categories.
They are, yes.
The filings allow the distillery to reorganize and pursue a potential sale while continuing limited operations. This is Luca Mariano's second bankruptcy. Its holding company filed for Chapter 11 in July, also in the Eastern District of Michigan. So it's now the holding company and the distillery both.
And it's, I don't know the exact corporate structure. The first to file was called LMD Holdings, and it owns all the real property. And so the issue that pushed that company in was the people that built the distillery and the rick houses weren't paid and had filed suit to be paid, and they put liens against this property. And so it was they were asking to appoint a receiver here in Kentucky, and apparently the principal office, which is just something you designate for a company for these two companies, is in Michigan. Because in the world I live in, the bankruptcy world, we're all going, what are they doing in Michigan? How come they're not filing bankruptcy down here and making work for us, right? So,
but it's where the owner is
it's
from.
Where the owner is from.
But I still think that was interesting. So, yeah, so you don't file in the state where you actually do business?
You could. I mean, they could have filed here. You can file either where the principal register, what we call the registered office is, or where your principal assets are. So they certainly could have filed here. And I don't know what kind of reception they've gotten in Michigan, but I think they would have gotten a pretty friendly reception in my bankruptcy court. So we're confused about that, but that's neither here nor there. So the real estate holding company filed, but now the distillery filed. It's a separate company, and so it's really not the second filing by the distillery.
But the same person is the
same
sole.
person is the owner of both of them. Yeah. Viola Francesca. So,
but do these pass through to personal liability?
It depends. I mean, I suspect that this company isn't big enough. A lender would have wanted a personal guarantee. So the main lender is a company called Summit Bridge, and they're going to advance another $1.5 million to keep the company operating while they try to sell it. I assume Mr. Francesca guaranteed that debt, and that's just, they're putting in another $1.5 million. I don't remember the existing debt, but it's not small. And this $1.5 million should probably go to, if they're smart, they used to pay things like any unpaid real estate taxes, anything that might come in front of Summit Bridge's lien on all this property, right? That's what they're going to, and to pay wages and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's still producing, if they still have a tasting room open. I have no idea, but they're clearly going to sell this, and they need to do a marketing process and things like that. So
try to sell this. There's a number of distilleries.
There's a
within 40 miles from here.
If you wanted to buy a distillery, folks, now is the time, because you're going to be able to get a deal.
No, I mean, it's a serious thing, though, because I think at one point saying, "Oh, we're going to restructure, we're going to sell," was like a given that someone's going to snap it up. But where are these all going?
Who's going to buy them? Yeah.
I mean, we got Garrett County, which is a huge, beautiful, brand new distillery. I haven't been to Luca Mariano. I've been to Garrett County, but I'm pretty sure Garrett County is many times larger than the Luca Mariano one. I think
so too.
But nonetheless, I mean, what is going to happen with all of these? Yeah. And, as bad as it is, there's probably going to be more.
I think so. I mean, you've got Wilderness Trail right down the road, so so to speak, not literally, but talk about production capacity, right? I mean, in reputation and so forth. I mean, if somebody's out there looking to start a brand and buy from a third-party producer, you're probably not going to go look to somebody like Luca Mariano when you can go to Wilderness Trail or...
Well, except we don't know what happened with Wilderness Trail, because when Campari bought them, I thought they stopped a lot of that contract distilling, and one of their big customers was Luca Mariano. So, this is all...
Yeah.
And then we've talked about the financials for Campari, where Wilderness Trail itself isn't even a line item. It's mentioned under other.
Right.
So,
Right.
That's a whole other issue. I don't know. It's not pretty what's happening
No,
out there, and
it's not, and I don't see it, purely speculation and prognostication, but I don't see it changing short term. I think probably it's going to get more dire before it gets better.
I mean, there's really just so much bourbon we can drink to.
We are doing our best.
We are,
and we encourage you to do your best responsibly.
We can talk about this. Honestly, I have not had one of these in ages, and it's really good.
It
Actually,
is. This is very tasty. This is an Elijah Craig, Grenade. Yeah.
So what are they exactly? So they've always been a little bit of a mystery to me because these things have been around for a long time. So it's the Elijah Craig, the regular H.H. Craig mash bill.
Proof Elijah Craig.
125 proof.
As opposed to 94.
We don't know the ages of them, do we?
No, there's no age. It's certainly not a single barrel. It's it's just.
Tastes like it's got a little age to it. There's some oak in here.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. I hadn't had one of these in ages.
Yeah, I find it very tasty. It's we're not reviewing it, but it's
no.
So these are, you can only get these at the distillery. They're $30, and good stuff as always from Heaven Hill. It's not bottled in bond.
So, just like Dean, if you're going to visit me here in Bardstown, please stop in the distillery and pick one up to bring one over.
There's gonna be a line of people at your door, Ed.
Well, I've got some whiskey they could drink when we're done with.
There you go.
What they bring.
Yeah.
All right. So
here's a more positive.
Yes, this one is more
story.
positive, and interesting for its own reasons, which it'll be difficult to get into all of the intricacies of this because it's not known. But Tennessee Distilling Group is in exclusive talks to acquire Waterford whiskey, which is in Ireland, for approximately 6 million euros, which is about 6.5 million US dollars. Mm-hmm. The proposed deal would include the Waterford distilling facility, intellectual property, and existing bottled whiskey, but would not include the nearly 7 million liters of cask whiskey remaining under receivership. Waterford whiskey has been in receivership since November 2024 under Interpath Advisory, with several prior bids having fallen through. Reportedly, Tennessee Distilling intends to reopen the Waterford facility and resume distilling in Ireland. The Irish whiskey sector has been under pressure from global oversupply and softening demand, leading to several restructuring and receiverships, similar to in the U.S., including Powers Court Distillery. Waterford whiskey, founded by Mark Renier on Diageo's former Waterford brewery site, was one of the first to encounter financial trouble during this downturn. And this story is interesting to me for a lot of things. I mean, Tennessee Distilling Group, which I think most people are not familiar with, but I just think of them as basically the MGP of Tennessee. So they are a big contract distiller that's completely behind the scenes and fairly secretive or very secretive. So I don't think we know anything about them, although I did drive by their facility once.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you see made in, where is it? Columbia, Tennessee, yes. On that, distilled in Columbia, Tennessee on the label, it's almost certainly from there. And so there'll be a lot of brands, if you flip the bottles around, especially if you're in Tennessee, you're going to see that on the label. So they're big, and very little is known about them, frankly.
And what an interesting reach, right?
Yeah.
Especially in light of things like they could pick up Garrett County or Luca Mariano, right? A little bit closer to home. Here we're going across the pond to pick up an Irish whiskey distillery. Everybody's, we assume they do a financial analysis and say, look, if I get in at this price point, I can make a bunch of money, even though the market's in a downturn. I hope they have done that. It's weird that they're getting the bottled whiskey, but not the in-cask whiskey. It's like either you get both of those or neither of those. It seems
like
me.
An interesting thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is we'll never know the answer to this either, because this is a private company also, and they don't put out any information, which is why this is. I mean, I'm surprised this is
even out there.
Out there.
Apparently, the Tennessee Distilling Group is founded and owned by a Tennessee state legislator, or a prior Tennessee state legislator, and his name was in this article. I want to say Mr. Wheeler, but I could be wrong about that. So,
well, he had been involved, I think, in the legalization of distilling in Tennessee, and he was part of an earlier distillery before this. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of this is like tariff motivated and, just trying to make it easier to sell in the European market. I don't know enough about the laws. I mean, if you own a distillery in another country, does it make it, can you transfer the whiskey?
Yeah. Who knows, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but there's 7 million liters of casked whiskey that's about 10 years old that they're not buying. And so why, I don't understand why you wouldn't buy that, but I don't know anything about European receiverships either. And it could be part of that. Maybe that's what the receiver has figured out is going to be needed to pay Waterford's prior debts. But 2 prior deals fell through. Some group of Irish investors and an Indian investor that for whatever reason didn't happen. So we'll see if this one makes it or not, right? It's not a great track record so far.
No, but interesting.
Yeah.
So Jack Daniels and the Armed Services YMCA, the ASYMCA, have launched the 15th year of Operation Ride Home, a program that helps junior enlisted service members and their families travel home for the holidays. Since the program began in 2011, 14,361 people, it's very precise, have been able to travel home through Operation Ride Home. For the 15th anniversary, Jack Daniels increased its annual kickoff donation to $150,000 and is encouraging additional support via OperationRideHome.com. To date, more than $3.5 million has been raised to assist active duty members E5 and below from all military branches with travel by air or car. Eligibility and participating installations are listed at, well, I can say this, but you probably want to just check the newsletter on my website, the asymca.org/operation-ride-home. And you can learn more and donate at jd.operationridehome.com. So sounds like a good cause.
It sounds like an excellent cause. I was tempted to divide the very precise 14,361 people by the $3.5 million and see what each ride home costs, but I did not do that. But it's a great cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we truly appreciate all our veterans, all the folks in the armed services, and it's hard being away from home and family. And if this is getting more of those people home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it particularly targets the people that wouldn't probably be able to afford to do it. Right.
Exactly.
So it's certainly a very good thing. Yeah. And then this last one, this second to last one, unfortunately, also I sort of hate to report on because their ticketed portion is already sold out. Mm-hmm. But Buffalo Trace's 27th annual Holidays at the Trace celebration. So Buffalo Trace hosts its 27th annual Holidays at the Trace celebration from December 4 through December 31. During this time, visitors can shop extended hours as well as online, enjoy the Holidays at the Trace drive-through light show from the comfort of their cars, nightly from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. during that time period. And that you can still do, but they also have the ticketed events, which were called Spirited Nights. Like everything Buffalo Trace, these sold out virtually immediately, and they're nice if you can do them. Yes. So again, have to pay attention to it next year because we only come out every 2 weeks with this information, unfortunately, and these things don't all fit in. But anyway, so the Spirited Nights is nice. It has a light trail experience where you can walk around the distillery and buy some drinks and foods and get samples of things. And then it had an add-on, which was also cocktails and cheer, where you got multiple cocktails as you walked around the distillery, and that was only $25. I mean, Buffalo Trace charges very little when they do charge for things. Yeah. And that came with souvenirs and I think a mini bourbon cream or something. So it probably comes up pretty close to more than free.
Right.
But unfortunately, that portion of it is sold out. But you can drive through and see their lights and their exhibits, which are nice. And I guess I've never just done the drive-through. I've done the walk-through, and you certainly can't drive through where a lot of the exhibits are.
I think they got to be
running people over.
Right, it's got to be a car path and a walk path. So I mean, people that do Buffalo Trace know that you've got to either get on their website or their Facebook page, I think, and be apprised of what's going on to be able to get the tickets because they sell out so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, they sell out pretty much before anything can be announced unless the timing's just perfect.
Right.
So All right, and then the last is the Kentucky Bourbon Country Auction and Celebration, the KBCA, will debut on February 13 to 15, 2026 in Louisville, launching a new 3-day event aligned with President's Day weekend and America's 250th anniversary. The KBCA will feature tastings, culinary events, distillery tours, and a live auction benefiting the Bob Woodruff Foundation with participating distilleries including Brown-Forman, Four Roses, Heaven Hill, and J. Mattingly, and they haven't listed everything yet on their website. Ticket sales begin November 20th, so they just did, with individual events starting at $150 and weekend passes weekend passes at $1,550. And you can find out more information at kybca.com. So, so another multi-day bourbon-centric.
Interesting timing, trying to start a new multi-day bourbon event, in the face of declining sales and, dare we say, interest in the industry.
And it's very close temporally to what's the other
there's
big
one in Louisville?
In February, right?
Isn't it? Is. Yes. Yeah, I forget the name of that one, but yeah.
And then there's the one in Lexington at the Marriott, which is around
at the end of January.
Yeah. So it's a very crowded time already. So
that's not a low price point either.
No,
not in my book. So, it'll be interesting to see how that flies. I mean, I'm glad they've got obviously some of the big names there, and I am not familiar with the Bob Woodruff Foundation, but it's always good if it's supporting a charitable cause and not just to benefit a promoter. So
we'll have to follow this, find out more about it, and it is just the first year. So
it'd be interesting to check. So when you hear us or see us, tickets will have been on sale for about 3 days. You can go check and see if there's still any available or if it's sold out, and that'll give you an initial indication of how successul it's going to be, right? If they're sold out, great. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I would say there's zero chance. No, I mean,
I agree.
You have to be an extremely the only festival that sold out like immediately was the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know of any others that have sold out that quickly?
No. I really don't. Although I don't know, you went to Bruzel. How do you think it?
Well, VIPs of a lot of these things sell out.
VIPs will sell out
but they don't usually sell out instantly. I mean, Bruzel's sold out. Many of them, almost all the VIP things always sell out at the festivals. But that's because there's fewer of them, also.
Right.
And
and there's a big music and bourbon festival in Louisville around the same time as KBF. But I don't know that they even. I assume they've got a limit on total tickets, but it's a huge venue, and so.
But VIP sells out.
Yeah, VIP is clearly Elvis sells out for that. So.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I'm sure tickets are still available. There's.
And if not, Ed will say his.
To what? I don't have tickets to it.
Just trying to cover your back in case you're wrong, Ed.
Right. On that note, that about does it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast. We may or may not be back next Monday for our new bourbon releases news podcast because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So have a happy Thanksgiving. If I can get the newsletter out, then we'll probably if I can get the newsletter out, we will do the podcast, but there's a good chance that it's not going to be until the following week, the first week of December. Also, be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode, and don't forget to tell all your friends too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to check out some of our over 350 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. While you are there, you can also sign up to have my newsletters delivered directly to your inbox. Finally, I can also be found on Instagram at Bourbon_Obsessed and on Facebook at Bourbon Obsessed, and would love for you to follow me there as well. Dean, where can they find you?
People will find me on Instagram under Dean of Bourbon with underscores, and you can see today the Willet Rye I had with lunch at the Willet restaurant. That was the only post I made today, and it's probably the only one I'm going to make. So there you go.
All right. Well, cheers, everybody, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Great week, folks. Bye-bye.